Hello everybody. So in today's video we're going to kind of be doing an off-season type video where we talk about how we can fix the 49ers, specifically focusing on roster construction and developing a young core, especially when a lot of our blue chip stars are aging vets. Think Nick Bosa, Fred Warner, George Kittle, CMC, and how a lot of them have had injuries in the past year or a couple of years. So we're going to be looking at a lot of different factors. Firstly, the implications of cutting and restructuring contracts. Then we're going to be talking about potential additions in free agency, either re-signings or going out and grabbing another player from another team. And then, of course, we are going to discuss trade. Spoiler, we're going to be discussing one big trade at wide receiver based off recent rumors. And then we're obviously going to be finishing it with a 7-round mock draft. So, without further ado, let's get into it. I think a great place to start is our staff. Of course, there haven't been a ton of departures, but the obvious and big one is Robert Saleh departing to the Tennessee Titans. He's going to be the head coach there. This is the second time kind of using the 49ers as a stepping stone as a defensive coordinator for a head coaching job. Of course, the New York Jets tenure didn't go too well, but I wish him all the best. You look at what he did this year, he did a lot with a little. A lot of injuries on this side of the field. But in terms of his replacement, as of today, this morning, Raheem Morris got hired as the 49ers defensive coordinator, which I think is great, in my opinion. A lot of fans mentioned Jim Schwartz. I think this is a 1A, 1B situation. Jim Schwartz is probably the favorite or the favorite candidate, but I don't think we can go wrong with Raheem Morris. This is a guy who, I mean, you look at what he did with the Falcons last year. The pass rush really got home a lot of the times. If he gets a say in this year's draft, I mean, who knows? The sky's the limit, man. What they did with James Pierce and Jalen Walker, a lot of people weren't fans trading that pick to the LA Rams, but I would say it worked out for them and the rest of their draft class as well. Billy Bowman was absolutely phenomenal. Over the past couple of years, I think we can all agree the 49ers defense, specifically the pass rush, has been a little bit vanilla. I mean, we take a wide 9 formation, which is kind of a dying thing in the NFL. We don't really rush 5 pass rushers. We rush 4, which leads to us sometimes tending to get diced up in the secondary. However, I'm curious to see, man. I want Raheem Morris to come in, and I just want him to do his thing, take control of the defense, and just get to it. I think it'll be an awesome addition. So for the rest of the video, you guys will see a box right here that just says cap space. This is a recent estimation from SportTrack, $29.9 million for the 49ers, just shy of 30. So in the next couple slides, you'll see it go up and down based off what we do. The first thing we're going to look at is cutting and restructuring contracts. Firstly, I think we cut Jair Brown, and it saves $3.6 million. We could keep him as a depth piece, but he is not a starter in the NFL. He had a good rookie season. I mean, the dude picked off Mahomes in the Super Bowl. He had a good game this year against, I think it was Carolina. But that doesn't excuse everything else. I mean, this guy is a poor coverage safety. And he is, in all honesty, maybe even a worse run defender. He overextends a lot, and it leads to teams gashing us in the run game or like a big explosive play, because he would be the last line of defense and he'd just take a complete wrong angle. And I don't think there's much to say here. I think, like I said, I don't think he's a starter in the NFL. I think he could be a depth piece. We could keep him as depth, but I don't think we need to. We still have Marquise Siegel on a rookie contract, so we have that going for us. And in all honesty, I don't know who's better, but it's not like Jair Brown is so much better than Marquise Siegel that you can justify keeping Brown. So that is our first cut. Then Jake Brendel, cutting him saves us $2.9 million in cap hit. And Jake Brendel, you look at his something like his PFF grading, he was actually 8th in centers this year. I think that's kind of inflated. He's good or above average in run blocking. He is not a good pass blocker at all. I think, again, kind of like Brown, this is one of the situations where I have to ask myself, is he so much better than any other option, either in free agency or even backup or through the draft, that you justify keeping him? And I think the answer is no. Also, we're going to be looking at a center in free agency later. Hint, hint, that can replace this guy. Anyways, I think we can cut Jake Brendel. Now, for post-June 1st cuts, Brandon Ayuk, we would save $6.3 million spread over 2 years. And this just hurts my heart, man. It puts a bad taste in my mouth because Brandon Ayuk was a great wide receiver. He was buried in the doghouse for 2 years, and then he just exploded. He had 1,400 yards, perennial All-Pro, Pro Bowler. He could have made a case for Offensive Player of the Year that year. Again, the whole package, great route runner, size, stretches the field, which is what we need, of course, right now, unfortunately. But it's one of those situations where he's never going to put on a red and gold jersey again. I don't think we could trade. I don't think we get a trade package for him. And in all honesty, I'm curious to see. I wonder if he's going to play another snap in the NFL. I mean, he of course has the skill and the talent. It's just I think something's going on in his personal life. I don't want to touch on it too much. So I think here we just kind of cut Brandon Ayuk post June 1st and move on. In terms of restructuring and extending, Nick Bosa and Trent Williams have actually publicly stated their desire to have restructured contracts, especially Trent Williams, since he only has a couple of years left anyway. And restructuring ultimately means saving $17 million and $15 million. There are some loopholes to save that in this scenario, but it's a lot of pushing it back as well. But ultimately, I don't like to use the term window. But when you look at the 49ers window, again, their stars are aging. They really need to develop a young core. This would create the cap space needed to have some money for free agency and go after these young players. So I think this is ultimately what they need to do, or what they should do. Again, we started with pretty much $30 million in cap space. With all these moves, we now have $75 million in cap space. So, briefly, let's look at some key free agents and retirements. Luckily, no one's going to retire. It was maybe thought that Trent Williams might. He is good to go for next season. Also, our long snapper, John Weeks. I don't think he's retiring either. For wide receiver, Juwan Jennings, he's our biggest free agent. He's going to command upwards $15 million or more in free agency. And don't get me wrong, I love the guy. He was a 7th round player, grinded his way up. He got cut from the 53-man roster, and then just became a reliable chain mover, like a rare physical ability to get yak after the catch by just stiff arming dudes and getting, again, physical wide receiver. He's super tall, chain mover, breaks tackles, but also anticipates a lot of balls. Like, you see what Purdy does. He lobs these balls over linebackers' heads, and Juwan Jennings anticipated them quite often, which is a rare trait in a receiver. I wish him all the best. I just don't think we, as a team, are in a situation to offer him $15 million. But he deserves that money. Next is Sky Moore. Strictly for pretty much special teams. He was used a little bit on those trick plays in motion as the option guy on the play that Jawan Jennings threw to CMC. Sky Moore was the option guy on that play, ultimately leading to that play. But he also is the reason our special teams did so well this year. He was a great returner. After years of bad special teams play, it was a breath of fresh air. These guys in asterisks are players I think we should keep, so there's 4 of them. Kedrick Bourne, I think he's kind of just a whatever player. He is good for the locker room, a good vibes guy. Played extremely well with Mac Jones over 2 weeks, but he just never developed the same chemistry as with Purdy. And I think we can let him go to free agency, let him walk. I don't think it's that much of a concern there. For offensive line, Spencer Burford, our guard. There were some flashes this season, but besides a couple individual plays, I would say he played pretty badly, especially in pass protection. Run blocking, he's a little bit better. And with him, if the 49ers wanted to re-sign him, they probably would have done it before the conclusion of the regular season. They would have done it mid-season because now he's probably going to command a little bit more money to an offensive line needy team. I don't think there's any reason to keep him. Ben Barch, Matt Hennessy as well. These guys filled in. They were depth pieces this year. Matt Hennessy actually played well. You could make the argument to keep him. But him and Ben Barch, again, also kind of like whatever pieces. Are they that much better than any other option you could find in free agency or the draft? Or even like UDFAs as well. We found a couple nice UDFAs last year. On the defensive line, Sam Okun, oh God, I'm just completely butchering his name. I know how to say his name. I'm just looking at it and I'm struggling right now. Anyways, he was a hidden gem on the edge defensive line. He hasn't been playing football that long either, so it's interesting to see his development. But again, he was 3rd or 4th on the team in sacks, and he made a lot of plays. He also made a lot of plays in the run game as well. I watched that second Rams game, and he stuffed the run quite a bit. And he is a no-brainer for a rotational edge. He's going to be cheap, and you're going to pay him. Jordan Elliott, Kevin Givens, these guys were ranked as 2 of the worst defensive linemen on PFF. Also, Kalia Davis, I forgot to put his name, falls in this category as well. And I think they could go for better. Even Sebastian Valdez, our UDFA. These guys offer very little in terms of production. It's pretty much non-existent. So I would be completely fine with letting those 2 guys go. Now, for miscellaneous positions, we have Brian Robinson Jr. He played pretty well, all things considered. He's actually a pretty good receiving back too. Got some receiving work, but he brought juice when CMC didn't have all that much of it. And he's not someone I want to see let go, Brian Robinson, but at the same time, I don't know if we could justify paying him for another contract, even though it'd be cheaper. Because in my opinion, man, you got 2 young guys. You got Jordan James and you got Isaac Garindo. Just get after it with those 2 guys. Isaac Garindo, an athletic freak, and Jordan James, productive running back for a great Oregon team there in college. Eddie Pinheiro, 100% bring him back. He was a beast. Nicknamed Dinero. He hit at a high percentage with his field goals. He also hit from long range as well, which is nice. And man, it was amazing to see. Like last year, watching Jake Moody line up for a field goal, I was legitimately scared every time he would line up. But Eddie Pinheiro, nothing but good things to say about him. Also, shout out him trying to trip Rashid Shaheed in the divisional. A lot of fans were like, why the hell did he do that? But I mean, dude, if Rashid Shaheed didn't get the touchdown, like if he prevented that and we just got a flag, that would be. I wonder if that would have changed like the rest of the game. I don't think it would have, but that was a pretty interesting play. And then But yeah, anyways, re-sign Eddie Pinheiro. Jake Tonjes, re-sign him. He filled in for Kittle quite well, actually. He finds himself in these soft spots and zones, and he was a reliable target for both Mac Jones and Brock Purdy. Unfortunately, fumbled in that same Seahawks game, but that's just like whatever. And you see, it says RFA there. What that means is restricted free agent. So ultimately, that just means that teams can offer him in free agency, but 49ers have the opportunity to match that. So him and Sam Oken, God, I don't know why I can't say his name. They are restricted free agents, and they will have the opportunity to match, and they definitely should. Jason Pinnock, again, our proposal of releasing Jair Brown would leave us with just Marquise Siegel if we also let Jason Pinnock walk, but we will be addressing that in the mock draft. I don't think he does any one thing particularly well. I think he's a better run stopper than in pass coverage, but not anything to write home about, and a place that we could look to upgrade elsewhere. Now, looking at these free agent re-signings, Jake Tonjes, these are the 4 no-brainers. These are estimations as well from Sport Track of what they would get. So Jake Tonjes, 2 years, $9 million valuation, and it would be a $3.5 million cap hit over the 2026-2027 calendar year. Sky Moore is a little bit cheaper, 2 years, $8 million, and we would incur a $2.5 million cap. Eddie Pinheiro, a little bit more expensive because obviously he played well, and it's just the nature of the kicker market nowadays. 3 years, $13.5 million, and we would incur a $3.5 million cap hit. And Sam would be he's a no-brainer. 2 years, $10 million, and a $3 million cap hit. As a rotational edge player, he produced for us when a lot of other players didn't produce. Again, we were last in sacks, and he was top 5 on the team. So no reason to not keep him. Again, not to harp on it too much, but especially as a developmental piece, he hasn't played football for all that long. So, we should definitely pay him. So after re-signing these free agents, we see that our cap space goes from just under $75 million to $62.3 million. Now we're going to get to a trade, and a lot of fans, are looking at Jordan Addison with dismay probably. You're wondering, what the hell is this guy thinking? However, just hear me out for a second. When we think of Jordan Addison and we think of this Vikings team, he is in the shadow of arguably the best wide receiver in the league right now in Justin Jefferson. I think Justin Jefferson's a total package. But in games without Jefferson, Addison has proven and stepped up to be a wide receiver 1. Like, as it stands, he is an elite wide receiver 2, top 5, top 3 wide receiver 2, maybe behind Higgins and Smitty. But his role is already set in stone as an elite wide receiver 2. But again, he stepped up and can be a wide receiver 1 as well. Think a couple of years ago when the 49ers played the Vikings. Jefferson missed a game, and Addison, I think, put up 150 yards. There was that infamous play where he took the ball right out of Charvarius Ward's hands and ran it back. Obviously, the thing that fans don't like with Addison is his legal history. We're all going to wonder if it's another Brandon Ayuk situation again. I don't think it will be. I think Brandon Ayuk's situation is an anomaly. Jordan Addison, he's gotten into a little bit of trouble. He's had a DUI, was cited for 1 or 2, and then recently got cited for trespassing. And people are kind of making him out to be like this terrible person, kind of similar to Aldon Smith. And don't get me wrong, DUI is terrible. Needs to get that in check. Guys, no reason to drive drunk. Just grab an Uber, grab a friend. Anyways, I don't think it'll be the same situation as Ayuk. That's an anomaly, and I kind of implore fans and myself to just stay optimistic. I think he's a proven wide receiver 1, and he would only benefit the team. And yeah, we look at compensation. I ran it through a couple trade analyzers, and this is something I came up with. It is a player and pick swap. So the 49ers would receive Jordan Addison and the 6th round pick, which is pick 195, and the Vikings would receive Mac Jones and a 5th round pick, pick 171. Mac Jones is being cited as worth a 2nd round pick, at the minimum a 3rd round pick. So essentially, we're trading a 2nd round pick for Jordan Addison, and then pick swapping a 6th and a 5th. And this would be a financially good contract, at least for this year, because he would only cause us a $4.37 million cap hit in the 2026-2027 calendar year. Of course, once his 5th year option is extended next year, we would have to more than likely pay him upwards of $17 million. But at least for this year, of course, a very solid contract. And I say Jordan Addison because it was rumored that the 49ers wanted Jordan Addison, and rumored that the Vikings are kind of sick of having to deal with his legal stuff, and they're doubting that the Vikings as an organization will pick up the option. I also think the Vikings firing their general manager makes this more of a possibility, especially because of the J.J. McCarthy fiasco. Maybe makes it more likely that they'll go for Mac Jones. But anyways, all in all, I think that this trade would give the 49ers the wide receiver 1 that they desperately deserve in the post-Ayuk era. And now we look at free agent acquisitions. So going into free agency, they have $57.9 million. And we see the big one right there, Tyler Linderbaum. 4 years, $72 million evaluation, and a $15 million cap hit. They need to do everything they can to get rid of this guy. With our proposal of dropping or cutting Brendel, Tyler Linderbaum is a great option. Excellent run blocker. By the age of 25, has made 3 Pro Bowls. They need to do everything they can to get this man. I saw a crazy comparison on Twitter the other day. They said Jake Brendel and Tyler Linderbaum's PFF ratings are very similar. So how are you justified in paying Tyler Linderbaum this much money? I just looked at it and laughed, man. You just look at the tape. This is a guy that you need to go out and get. He is elite. Then Elijah Vera Tucker on a 1-year prove-it deal for $9.5 million, and we'd incur a $5.5 million cap hit based on Sport Track estimations. Interesting thing with Tucker, he was going to get a massive contract after this season, but of course he suffered another season-ending injury. The thing with this guy, when he's on the field, he is very good, above average guard by both pass blocking and running metrics, rushing efficiency metrics, and he made it his all-rookie team in his rookie year. So ultimately, if he stays healthy, with this 1-year prove-it deal, I think it boils down to best case scenario, the 49ers can get a Pro Bowl guard. And worst case scenario, of course, he gets injured, which would be terrible. But you have to be optimistic. He has had a lot of time to recover now, and I think he would be a great guard given the circumstances, especially with our proposal to let Burford walk. So now we are at $37.4 million in cap space, and we are going to look at our roster up until this point, all things considered. So of course, Brock Purdy is still our QB, CMC our running back 1. Now wide receiver 1 is Jordan Addison, with Ricky Pearsall sliding down into the slot role. Then we got Demarcus Robinson. We still have him for another year, so he will be on the team. At tight end, George Kittle. Obviously, you can put an asterisk on this. If he is injured, Jake Tonjes will slot in there. Now, this is a completely retooled offensive line. And again, we think of offensive line as a huge crux for the 49ers since like I said in my other video, this century. That one play with Chris Jones still haunts me, and They really just need to solidify this position, at least for a couple years, man. Anyways, left tackle Trent Williams, beast, dog, future first ballot Hall of Famer, and man, we fleeced the Commanders all those years ago. And then left guard Elijah Vera Tucker, center Tyler Linderbaum, Dominic Puny holding down the right guard, and Colton McKivitz holding down the right tackle position, who had a great season, one of his better seasons, especially as a run blocker. Now we look at backups. Curtis Rourke, assuming he is all good with his injury status, would slide in at QB2 with the expectation and the proposal of us trading Mac Jones. Running back Jordan James, he would be our running back 2. Jordan Watkins, wide receiver 4. Jacob Cowling 5, although one of them could overtake Demarcus Robinson. Tonjes as our backup tight end, and then our depth offensive linemen are Connor Colby, Drake Nugent, Zach Thomas, and there's a couple of names I also forgot to put on there. Anyways, now onto the defense. Look at starters. Michael Williams, very promising start to the year, got double teamed a lot, made some impact in the run. A very raw prospect, but great measurables, and I think he'll be a force to be reckoned with. I can see him being a Pro Bowler in the near future 100%. Alfred Collins holding down defensive line. He actually had a bad PFF rating. I don't think he's as bad as they made him out to be. I'm not as high on him as other fans. However, he does a great job at certain things, namely he bats a lot of balls down and is very physical. He likes to jam interior offensive linemen. Of course, that edge, Nick Bosa, assuming he's all healthy. Bryce Huff on the other side and as a rotational guy. Fred Warner, linebacker 1. Need this guy back. It was awesome to see him push to be back for the NFC Championship. D. Winters. You could make the argument for Bethune, but I lean Winters more here. It sucks because Winters is a little bit inconsistent. Like, to start the year off, very good, very promising. Regressed a little bit and then got injured. But I think he should retain that spot. Lenore at cornerback 1. Renardo Green at corner 2. He regressed a little, as I talked about in the last video. Could address this in the draft. Saw some fans mentioning that we could trade him. I could see it, although I don't think it'll happen. Upton Stout as our nickelback. Great player. Best value in the most recent draft. At our free safety position, this is a player we're going to address in the mock draft. I would put Marquise Siegel, but I think Marquise Siegel is a player who at the moment is a substitution guy. And then at strong safety, Malik Mustafa. Backups, this is where it gets a little worrisome. CJ West and Sebastian Valdez. CJ West also showed flashes. He'll develop. He'll be fine. Valdez, though, is an unproven UDFA. Although he is promising. He worked his way from the practice squad and then got promoted to the active roster in the last couple weeks, so that was awesome. Sam Okawanu. I don't know why I couldn't say his name earlier. Again, rotational edge piece, awesome. For further edge depth, there are not that many players left on the roster, so it is something we will address in the mock draft in a couple of minutes. Tiden Bethune, linebacker 3. Nick Martin, linebacker 4. This guy just recently got out of concussion protocol. I actually really love him as a player. He is great run stopper, like Bethune. The thing about Bethune is he's a liability in pass coverage. Anyways, Daryl Luter as our backup slot corner and Trey Tomlinson as a depth guy. For our backup nickelback, this is something we are going to address in the mock draft as well. And then, like we mentioned, Marcus Siegel. And then our backup strong safety is Siren Neal, who is more of a special teams player. However, he does get some snaps and some reps in the secondary as well. Okay, with that all being said, let us go to the mock draft. I've already loaded up the trade here, so the 49ers give up pick 171, their late 5th round, and Mac Jones for a 6th round, and Jordan Addison. So let us start the draft. We're going to put it at fast. And we're going to make this relatively fast. There's two players I would consider here. Lomu is an awesome option, but I don't think that's who we go with here. Again, what I mentioned earlier, we think about how sometimes the 49ers get diced up in the secondary. It's ultimately because we need to get the pass rush moving. We can't be bottom of the league in sacks and expect to go anywhere in the playoffs. We need to be in the upper echelon, top 15. Top 10 is really where you want to be. I really love McNeil Warren. He's the best coverage safety in the draft. He would replace Jair Brown tenfold in this scenario. However, I'm going with the guy I talked about in the last couple of videos, and that's Mesidor, who's an awesome prospect. 13 sacks this year, 50 hurries. I think he's a plug-and-play starter right away. Only knock on him is he's, like I said, 25. If he was a couple years younger, he would be in the top 15. We're going to try to address all the needs here: guard, edge, and safety. Now, this pick's very interesting because Surratt has largely been ahead of Omar Cooper in ADP until very recently. Omar Cooper, very good yards per run, great receiving grade. They're two different receivers. He's a little bit smaller, and Cooper gets a little bit more separation. That's the knock on Surratt, is he's not the best separator, but he is able to win his routes in another type of way. Surratt's going to be the pick here. I also like Joshua Josephs. Very good pass rusher, but considering we went Mesidor in round 1, I don't think we go with him there. Max, of course, he an anchor. I've been talking about him with you guys for a little bit now. At first, I was mocking him in the 4th. Now he's in the 2nd. Anyways, Elijah Surratt, he has the prototypical like X receiver build, 6'2", 213. You can put him on the boundary. We get our tall receiver. And like I said, the big knock on him is he's not the greatest separator, but he wins in other ways. He's very fluid, and he finds a lot of soft spots in coverage. He's also very good towards the back end of his routes, which is an underrated trait. Here, Zakee Wheatley is a player that I've been doing a little bit more research on. Penn State safety kind of throws me off. I know that's me nitpicking. Mikael Kamara, player with who was used differently this year, had a lot of production in terms of sacks last year. Very good player this year. I would go with him, but again, we already grabbed Mesidor. Malachi Fields is a big wide receiver. He popped off at the Senior Bowl, 6'4", 222, 222. However, that's not the pick there. The pick here, another player I like, is Skylar Gill-Howard. This could help our interior defensive line. The only thing is he's a bit of a tweener at 6'1", 290. A very good production. Only thing is he got injured. That's kind of something I want to avoid on the defensive side of the ball. Anyways, Genesis Smith will be the pick here. He is one of the best coverage safeties in the draft. I don't think he's a set-in-stone plug-and-play free safety right away. However, you can substitute him and Marquise Siegel and see who plays better. I think Genesis Smith would take the job. Great coverage grade, force incompletion rate at 26%, and a missed tackle rate. You want that to be a little bit lower. Regardless, Genesis Smith is the pick there. Has had a lot of production in the last 2 years. So that is the pick there. Now we come to the territory where we have 3 picks very close to one another, back to back to back, basically. And I'm not going to harp on this too much. Kalen Rutledge is above average in every single category. And you think about the Georgia Tech offense. Haynes King running around all over the field. They have large, long, sustained drives. You kind of think about the 49ers, and that's what they do. So this guy's battle-tested, and he knows what it takes to win at all levels. Did not let up a sack this year. Has had consistent uptick in production each of the last 3 years. And we mentioned Elijah Vera Tucker. If he gets injured this year for us in our proposal, Kalen Rutledge would be able to slot right in. Tim Keenan is an interesting defensive lineman down the board. He's like, after him, I wouldn't take any other defensive lineman because it's kind of weak past this point. Pat Coogan, Rose Bowl MVP, great player, but with Linderbaum, I think we could pick up just another smaller depth piece. Ultimately here, we're going to go with another edge. We're trying to bolster the pass rush. One of the higher upside players late in the draft. You look at the pass rush win rate, 20%, pass rush grade 90. His run defense grade is still average. Like, he does everything well. 30 hurries, 7 sacks. You don't find that much production across the board. Malachi Lawrence will be the pick there. Bryce Lance is an interesting player. I saw a stat that said in deep ball metrics, he was ranked the #1 receiver, which makes sense. That's really what he's good at. Like 3.57 yards per route run is absurd. Don't see the 49ers taking him based off what happened with his brother, but is a fun player. Don't get me wrong. I think wherever he goes, it'd be an interesting fit. Now, in terms of how the board's falling, we kind of saw some linebacker inconsistency earlier this year, especially with Winters and Bethune. Why not take a shot on Kyle Lewis, a Senior Bowl riser? He played with great speed. I looked at some of his one-on-one clips in my last video, if you guys want to check that out. And he won a lot of his reps, If you're not going to get Jacob Rodriguez, who for some reason isn't getting mocked in the first, even the second, if you don't get him, and there's going to be a sweepstakes for that guy, this is pretty much a next best scenario. Pass rush grade is above average. That's not really a specialty, though. The coverage grade, that is what he's good at, and a run defense grade is also of average. So we also look at production. He has had plenty of production the last 2 years. And Kyle Lewis will be the pick right there at 138. Now, if you recall earlier, we traded our 171st pick, our fifth round, and now we have the 195th, our 6th round pick. Again, one area we didn't address in this is defensive line. At this rate, I don't really... I'm not the biggest fan of any of these guys, to be honest. Rayshawn Berry from Michigan, or Benny, would probably be the best because he has been a 3-year starter and great competition at Michigan. However, I'm not particularly sold on him. Cole Wisniewski is another good safety. Of course, we picked up Genesis Smith, though. And I'm going to take a shot on a guy I mentioned in the previous video that would pair with Genesis Smith, and that is, they played on the same defense. Treydon Stukes. This is a guy who can fill in the slot corner or a backup corner role. Could definitely replace Luter. You look at the passer rating, he let up 34.4%. That is amazing. His man coverage is at the top of his class, up there with the zone coverage. Run defense, he is above average. Coverage grade is pretty much at the top of his class. Like, for a corner, these are great stats. Missed a couple of games last year, missed 1 or 2 this year. Big knock on him again is he's a 6-year senior, but he has plenty of experience, like a 3-year starter. I think he's being overlooked, and 4 interceptions this year as well. There's a clip of one of his interceptions that is absolutely insane. His ball skills are great too. Anywho, though, I think Treydon Stukes rounds out the draft. You take a shot on a corner there who can be a potential future starter, but a very good depth piece to begin with at the back of the 6th round there. Let me quickly turbo this. So, again, Mesidor, Surratt, Genesis Smith, Rutledge, Malachi Lawrence, Kyle Lewis, and Treydon Stukes are the picks. They gave me a B-. I think this draft would be hugely beneficial. And we're going to quickly, before we end this video, let me get back to my slideshow. 1 second. Now, all that's left to do is look at the full roster post-draft. So in the middle, again, you see the draft right there. All 7 of our picks. So, with the offense, Brock Purdy, Christian McCaffrey, our wide receiving core is looking very good, very strong, a huge upgrade. Jordan Addison at the 1, Elijah Surratt as our wide receiver 2, as our boundary X big body wide receiver. Ricky Pearsall in the slot. Again, I'm not ready to give up on him. I think he is an elite route runner and a good separator. He just needs to stay healthy, man. Kittle, if healthy, of course. If not, Jake Tonjes can fill in. And then again, offensive line. This is a hugely improved unit based off of our trades. Trent Williams, Elijah Vera Tucker, Tyler Linderbaum, Dominic Puny, Colton McKivitz, and Kalen Rutledge as depth. He could potentially even compete, but definitely great depth. Again, the players I asterisked are our rookies. On the defensive side of the ball, Michael Williams, Alfred Collins, CJ West, Sebastian Valdez, the Hulk, holding down the defensive line. And the edge is really where we made a lot of strides. Nick Bosa, Akeem Mesidor, that is a insane pass rushing combination. Nick Bosa, of course, has some great bend and a lot of speed. Akeem Mesidor has a good balance between both. So they could definitely work in tandem, and this would be fireworks. Bryce Huff could be a rotational player as well. Again, a speed guy. Potentially could deploy the NASCAR packages they were talking about last year with him. And again, another edge we add is Malachi Lawrence. So this position, we basically go from no depth to a lot of depth here and a lot of quality depth. Again, Malachi Lawrence produced and is a high upside player. Linebacker Fred Warner. I put Kyle Lewis at linebacker 2 here, but D. Winters probably has that locked down. However, Kyle Lewis would be the linebacker 3, in my opinion, over Bethune, and he could be a substitution player in some of those nice substitution packages that Raheem Morris will run. Lenore at corner 1, Green at corner 2. Then we have our slot corner as Traydon Stukes. Again, I think he could slot in right away, at least at the minimum for depth, but I think he could, definitely overtake Darrell Luter. I considered cutting Darrell Luter earlier in the video. It just doesn't make sense because he's on such a cheap contract. Nickelback, Upton Stout. Free safety, Genesis Smith. Again, I would love McNeil Warren as our safety. I think it just makes more sense to grab Mesidor because I don't want to harp on it too much, but everything starts with a pass rush, and we didn't have it. This draft addresses it tenfold. We still get a good coverage safety in Genesis Smith, and we have his physical safety mate in Malik Mustafa. And yeah, that pretty much rounds out the video. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know what you guys think about the moves I made, whether it's Jordan Addison. I know a lot of you would prefer someone like Alec Pierce or Dobbs. I'd prefer Dobbs over Pierce. I just don't think I can discount the success Addison has had. But in terms of the draft as well, let me know if you guys wanted me to go anywhere else with these picks, as well as the trade, if you think that trade is giving up too much or we would need to give up more. And then if you would go elsewhere between Linderbaum and Vera Tucker. And yeah, I think that pretty much covers it in terms of how you can fix the 49ers this offseason and make them a contender. Get their pass rush going again. Get their trenches settled. Get a wide receiver 1. And then get some secondary help as well. So yeah. Thank you guys very much for watching. Mock Draft 2.0 is in the works. I will release that soon in the coming days. And I will see you guys soon. Again, thank you very much for tuning in. Have a great day. Thank you.